The wait is finally over at long last. The Boys series finale has dropped on Prime. I got done watching it not too long ago, and I gotta say before I get into this review, I'm not that mad at the finale. In fact, I found myself enjoying it. One scene in particular towards the end, damn near close brought me to tears. We'll talk about it. I'm not gonna have a whole breakdown. I'm just gonna give like cliff notes of what happened. I'm not going to things that I especially liked, things that I disliked, and give my overall assessment of the episode and the season by the end. Like I gotta say, oh, you already know what you gotta do. Go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, follow if you're on TikTok, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Let's get right into it. So basically, the episode picks up where we left off in the last one. Boys having a funeral for Frenchie. It's a real touchy moment, obviously. Immediately becomes less touchy-feely as Huey reads Frenchie's last words to them from this note that he left behind. Got all these ass jokes on it and everything. Like, I could care less. Get what he was trying to say. He was trying to relate it to the fact that they feel like family because he's seen their behind. This is just the raunchy humor from the boys that I'm just kind of over with at this point. It got no laughs out of me. What also didn't get a laugh out of me was how Marie and the Gen V cast were done in this episode. I knew when I seen Maeve in the preview for this episode that we weren't going to see Maeve in this episode. That Starlight was going to relate her experiences with Maeve to her experiences with Marie. Only difference with this though is that you joined the 7 and you were a pain in Maeve's ass from that point on. Marie was chilling before she met you. You pulled up on her and then you became a pain in her ass. In my eyes, you are the Starlight to her Maeve, not the other way around. Just because she's a fan of you, don't change the dynamic here. Every time you have worked together, it has been on your behalf to get things done for you. Now Marie, Jordan, Emma in this episode we see dyed her hair, ready to fight the good fight with y'all, and you just telling them, nah, it's better if y'all just save these people right quick. In the end, we see that they really did not need Marie and them's help. Because at a last minute Hail Mary Soldier Boy gun that Frenchie had successfully implemented into Kimiko's chest, knocked the powers right out of Homelander. Yes, spoilers. If you didn't know I was getting into spoilers. In a series finale review video, I don't know what you were expecting. Still, just to see the Gen V cast get shafted the way they have been throughout this entire season for it's just nasty work. Again, I understand what they were trying to do with the parallel between Starlight and Maeve and Starlight and Marie. Really was not a fan, but it was written to be of no consequence, so it is what it is. And now we'll likely never see the Gen V cast ever again. We got Val Rising on the way though. See the usage of Soldier Boy's chest beam in Kimiko work in which she knocks the smartness out of Sage, which leaves her irrelevant, so she decides to go over to Orlando while the boys decide to run up on the White House to finally eliminate Homelander. This decision to just get rid of Sage's intelligence was another one that I just felt like was a way to just get a character up out the way for the final act of the series. I'm not entirely mad at it though. This season, Sage did not feel like the smartest person in the room at all. Her getting shafted in this way was a decision. It's a miracle that she even survived the last episode, so yeah, just give her a peaceful send-off real quick. It's her character in a way I feel like detested being smart. I think she's even said that on the show, so I'm glad that Kimiko was able to do this and was successful in getting rid of her intelligence. Like it came in clutch at any point in the season anyway. She actually trying to get information out of old father on Homelander's nefarious deeds, trying to get Baxley to look into his mom. Obviously, she's not messing with her after the last episode. Speaking of old father, tries to get Homelander to work with this rich elite, but clearly he doesn't know who he's dealing with. Homelander gives the astronaut a first-class flight into space before the Deep comes in, that he wants to be a crusader. Homelander, just tired of the Deep's foolishness, finally tells him off after a long 5-season run of the Deep, genuinely thinking that Homelander messes with him. And the craziest part, even after Homelander tells him about himself, how he feels about it, he still believes that he's Homelander's best bro. Yeah, pack him up. The brother is deluded. Boy successfully managed to sneak into the White House, which I thought was pretty easy on their end. I guess everybody was focused on Homelander's speed, keeping everybody focused on that to see the believers and the non-believers. So I could give this a pass. They get in, they get trapped. She tries to find a location to help them. Back Ashley comes in and lets her know where they're at. Does this doing one of her only good deeds of the season. And karma caught up to her quick by the end of the episode because she is no longer president by the end of it. But she does lead the boys on the right path to get to Homelander. They're then intercepted by the Deep that Starlight handled, no father that Huey and MM handled. Separately as Kimiko and Butcher interrupt Homelander's message to America. He's basically telling the people that he is the second coming, the first coming, that he is their God and that they will refer to him as such. He's actually about to finish his speech to the people, but then he gets caught up on the father word. You know that's a touchy subject for that boy. Especially after the conversation that Ryan had with his own father and Homelander at the beginning of the episode. Where he basically tells bro to F off. Still going into this fight, Homelander is confident as ever. This is on live viewing, by the way. Butcher takes on Homelander in this 1v1 as Kimiko is charging the Soldier Boy beam. That bitch is taking forever to charge. Homelander tries to leave the room countless times. He's almost successful in one occasion where he has Butcher and Kimiko on the floor, but then Ryan flies. See Ryan and Butcher continue to struggle against Homelander. Butcher turns to Kimiko like, yo, burn this man already. She can't get it out. The rage inside her is not strong enough. That's when Frenchie from the afterlife puts his hand on his Montcurch and lets her know it's okay to fire. Your power has never come from rage. With that reminder, with that Zenkai boost, Kimiko is finally successful in launching that beam at Homeland, leaving him as a regular man. Bro tries to fly out of this room in the most embarrassing attempt ever. Doing that weak ass little attempt he be doing every time he try to fly out of the room on some The laser eyes don't work either, so you know Butcher went busy. 1, 2, us. Gets a lot of hits in for Frenchie before Homelander's begging for his life, telling him, I'll eat Dookie and I'll suck your Johnson in order to get off scot-free. You owe me for letting you live all these years. And this is still being recorded live, by the way. Even after Butcher ends up killing him, which he says is for Becca, when he puts that crowbar in his head, splits his cap open, everybody still sees this. That is how Homelander will be remembered. Not as a god, not as the Lord and Savior, but as a fool masquerading as one. Homelander is dead. The boys are celebrating. Ryan's with them. Butcher says, maybe we could start anew now. Ryan's like, you're a bad person. I don't really want to do that for real. Butcher's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's just me and you, Tara. You know, his dog that we saw a couple episodes ago that ate a whole lot of BS. Yeah, that dog died in this episode. Rest in peace. So now Butcher is really about to go scorched earth on all soup. Takes the virus that Frenchie cooked up some episodes back to Vought Tower, throws it into some tubing that's supposed to kill all the soups in Vought Tower instantly and spread across the world over a matter of days. Luckily, Huey intercepts him like, no, Butcher, this is not you. Butcher shows him that that's very much him, though. He starts to put belt to ass to Huey. This is he's about to pull the trigger, rendering all soups in that building useless. Plot kicked in for Huey as Butcher starts to see the spitting image of his brother Lenny. Huey reluctantly puts Butcher down, knowing what he was probably going to do. Even suggests getting him an ambulance, but Butcher's like, nah, I would still try this again if I got back up on my feet. You need to let me go. And it's a really sad scene. A scene that damn near brought me to tears. And Jack Quaid and Carl Urban put on a great performance in this one. I also like to send off for Butcher. It was short and sweet. I do wish we got to see Terror buried next to Becca and Butcher. Sure, they took care of him, but it would just been nice to see that he was next to his parents. Before we get into the epilogue of the episode, we see Starlight and Huey are expected. We got a soup baby on the way. Maybe that's a spinoff for like 10-15 years from now. MM gets married. Kimiko ends up getting the dog that her and Frenchie wanted to get. I think she's staying in France now. I also think MM took Ryan in, which was really player. Lord knows that boy needs the right guidance from somebody who's actually a good person. We see Huey starting up the audio store again, which is a great callback to the very first episode of the series where Huey was working. So it's good to see him get back in that line of work, turning down the offer to join Vought with the Department of Super Affairs. F Vought respectfully. Everything they've went through in this series, it just would have felt so tone deaf if Huey did accept this job, even if it was for the right reason. Before I get into my likes and dislikes, some of which I've already talked about in the video, I do want to talk about the deaths in this episode. I didn't get into how the Deep was handled or how O'Father was handled. O'Father's death was super quick, was not expecting it to go down like that, but he went out in a good old-fashioned boys way. And I really appreciated them throwing that into this episode. It really took me back to season 1 day, and the boys were heavily on the back foot. Back when you was thinking, how the hell are the boys going to handle any soup? Before people were pumping Compound V, before the days of them having Kimiko on their side. I love that MM and Huey were able to handle that. I also love the way the Deep went out. I think he deserved worse, but him getting thrown into the water by Starlight's hand, seeing how irredeemable he actually was in the end, he deserved what he got. And then some, but it was good enough. Homelander's death was pretty satisfying. Butcher, I mean, he had to go. Glad things went out differently in the comics, so Huey didn't have to get totally injured for this to happen. So overall, I'm satisfied with how Butcher went. One of the things I like, I gotta go into the fight with Homelander versus Kimiko, Butcher, and Ryan. I thought it was executed so well. I'm so glad that the people got to see Homelander for who he actually was. I'm glad to see Butcher was able to be the one to land the finishing blow on Homelander. And that Ryan was included. I did not know if Ryan was actually going to be included in this episode. I'm so glad it was because it makes so much sense for him to be involved in this fight. He's been a character that we've seen growing alongside Butcher and Homelander. He's becoming his own man, so it's nice to see him detach himself from Homelander in this fight. But also through their conversation earlier on in the episode, as well as his conversation with Butcher later on in it. Now, I don't like that Marie was not a part of this fight, because what was the point of building her up in Gen V if she wasn't even going to be a part of it? I'm not saying she had to get the final blow on Homelander. I don't think throwing her in this fight would be the end of the world, but I mean, neither here nor there, I guess. Glad that Ashley's character got clarity by the end of the season. You know, she's no longer president. She did the right thing in the end. You can finally stop pulling out what's left of that hair now. I also love that there was no promotion of Vought Rising in this final episode. Thank God. No more promotion of that was needed. We got enough in these other 7 episodes. Things I didn't like I said, Shaft and Gen V felt unnecessary, but I believe they already knew Gen V wasn't going to have a season 3 at this point of filming. So it just made the most sense. I still just don't like it. You guys started asking Marie for help in the last episode just to help evacuate citizens. It felt like they was on the fence on what they wanted to do with them. I also didn't like Sage's inclusion in this episode. Like, you might as well have just dusted her with Frenchie in the last episode, if we being real. But I did like that Sage is finally free of her intelligence now. She could live a regular life. So it's kind of a seesaw with Sage's character in this episode. I also like how Kimiko went back to majority sign for this episode, because the time she did speak in this episode wasn't the biggest fan. I'm definitely glad we got to go back to the roots of the character. You know, where she felt reserved, obviously, about Frenchie's death. Was able to speak once again only after his death was avenged through the death of Homelander. Finally, I like the direction that they took with Homelander in the end. I think he was stripped of his powers and rendered mortal for the first time in his life. A lot of people just go just take away the fact that he looked pathetic in the end and laugh at it. But him having powers is literally all he knows, is all he's trained to know. He is the Homelander. For him to only have a matter of minutes to process all that before his untimely demise, in a way that shit was sad to see, but I loved every minute of seeing bro grovel. I'm also not entirely sure how I feel about the boys send off by the end of the episode. It's a little bit too straight to the point. Like, they could have had a little bit more words in between, but I'm not all the way mad at it. I give the episode like a 7.7 out of 10. And they wrapped this series up pretty well considering some of the episodes we got before this one. Let me know your thoughts on the finale in the comments though. What was your favorite and least favorite part of the episode?